Not banning.
No, restricting.
We're restricting,
yes.
but we're restricting to the extent that we don't create famine in the country.
How do you propose to do that?
Well, exactly. So you see the committee that has been put together, Agriculture Ministry, Ministry, how many of them? You got a copy of this? You have the Ministry,
you have the Ministry of Agriculture, you have the Finance Ministry, you have the GRA, you have...
Food and whatever, what called FDA.
Yes,
they are all there. Go to the page. They are all
including the associations like
so
AGI.
All of them. And so there is this committee that meets and monitors food production in the country. So it's not a simple question of just sitting down one afternoon and determine that you can get a certificate or permit or not. No. The ministry is responsible, particularly Agric. There have been quite a lot of liaison between our ministry and Agric ministry before we came out with this. We thought through. If in the end, the committee through the Agric ministry tells us that there's a deficit, the deficit between production and consumption in the country is this much, so this much has to be imported, it will be allowed through. It's as simple as that.
So what you're saying is you would allow imports,
yes,
so far as it doesn't create shortage locally?
Absolutely. And of course, so far as also doesn't flood the system. So to the extent that there won't be starvation in the country, we would ensure that the right quantity is allowed into the country. What we would not do, and repeatedly I'm making this point, is to simply get up and arbitrarily suggest that, well, we restricted the import of this, we have restricted. You might well say that the word restriction is a misnomer, and you might be right in saying that, because it doesn't seem to me that right from the word go, we're going to restrict to the extent that you may be tempted to equate restriction to banning, but that won't be entirely accurate. We will be restricting, not in the context of banning, but restricting in the context of keeping an eye on it and making sure that at the same time the production at home is beginning to match our consumption. At a point when there is equilibrium somewhere, then the system will be looking at whether there's a need to continue with the importation of.
But considering, if you look at rice, the big ones, you mentioned them, the big ones. Sure. Considering that as we speak, 2020, I mean the last data that's available.
Sure. $220-something million.
Exactly, coming in. But in terms of the metric tons that we were consuming, some 1.4 million metric tons of that as of 2020. Yes. If you look at what we're producing locally, it's 622,000.
Yes.
There's a huge gap there. Yeah. That needs to be bridged.
Yes.
I put it to you that the restrictions won't solve this particular problem. Even if you restrict and say we still produce 2022, until you have government policies that empowers local producers to grow the production over time, you are going to have a challenge.
I understand that. No, there won't be a challenge. I understand that. Again, if your argument is still revolving on the fact that you suspect that we are banning, then we'll get into this conundrum.
But you're restricting.
But if you see, that's what I'm saying here.
So in other words, in a more realistic question would be, on day one of this, you would have to restrict the importation of rice, say, for example.
Day one of this, and
allow 622,000 metric tons to be produced locally.
No.
And so you can't import anything more than that difference. That's what you're proposing.
That is the difference.
That's what you're proposing.
But I was going to put it the other way around. Maybe we would have arrived at the same destination. But I was going to say that maybe, as you said, day one, which is from today or from the maturity of the LI, we won't be restricting anything at all. If it's to
the law says within 3 months people can apply to you.
No, they apply. Of course, yes. The physical application would be undertaken. But whether by so doing we stop bringing in anything altogether is another matter. Yes, they would apply for the purpose of getting a 20 million metric tons, 40 million metric tons. I would have looked at the figures. The committee would have looked at the figures. They would have presented me with the data. And looking at it, I would have thought that, well, how much is needed? 100 and whatever tons, yes, it can be imported. Nothing would have been lost.
Yeah, but that is rice where the data is available.
We're keeping a good eye on the data. Let me tell you about this. We have been particularly concerned about rice because it's all basically the staple of the country. Yeah. So we got companies like the guys that you met here just before you came in. Olam, they had come to explain to me the installed capacity. Consistently over the last so many months, we've been talking to Zoom Lion, you know them, just one group of companies. In fact, they had promised us that if we had been able to put through the mechanism into operation, the mechanism, by this December, they will be producing so much to augment whatever it's already producing the country. So imports could be restricted. But of course, we had to do a roadshow for purpose of consultation to get all those stakeholders involved for us to measure the barometer of the country before we undertake this process.
So I was talking about the other items on the list.
Yes.
You have stuff like fish.
Well, start from the top.
Well, I mean, we've talked about rice. We've talked about rice already.
A few more there.
You have poultry, for example.
Yes.
And if you speak to the Poultry Farmers Association, they say we don't even produce up to 1% of what the demand locally.
That's not my information. They don't tell me that they don't produce 1%.
I mean,
it is true. The local production
I call it a great ministry. Let me quote the exact figures.
Yeah.
So 400,000 metric tons is the demand locally.
That's right.
We're currently producing locally 57,000. To be very specific, 57,870.
Yes.
Metric tons of poultry.
Yes.
That's a huge gap. You're talking about a significant gap. In fact, what we import still leaves a gap. We're not importing all that we need for the local market already.
Well, we're not importing all. We're assuming that we produce something.
So my point is, how does your policy address this huge gap without creating a shortage that shoots price up and creates inflation?
At the risk of repeating myself, let me take you back. And that's what consistently I'm saying, that we are not banning. So in the particular instance of poultry, we may simply have to regulate, observe, evaluate what's going on, and then decide on how we go forward. It's the case that if we were importing, say, 1,000 metric ton, million, whatever, of poultry, we probably would keep on producing to the extent that we are not bridging the gap. But if the system that we put in place, the help that we intend to give to poultry farmers, and all the mechanisms that we put in place, if it's able to catch up, we hope that going forward, we'll be able to bridge the gap, and that the import into the country will be reduced. Looking at it, if having put all the factors together, there's still the risk that putting restricting in the terms of not allowing anybody to bring poultry into the country would affect the country. We won't. We're going to rationalize. It's not. Insanity is not going to break loose because we're trying to restrict. We would monitor as much as we can and make sure that we balance the system. We want to encourage local farmers. We want to encourage local poultry. But at the same time, I've also told you, also keeping our eyes on our foreign reserves. But that can never be at the expense of the ability of people to feed themselves in the country.
So that's part of a discussion with my colleague Evans Mensah, together with Kobina Tahir Hammond, the Minister for Trade and Industry. Well, joining the conversation in the midst of all of this bit about an import ban and no import ban, and let's do it and let's not do it, and we're rushing and we're not rushing. We're joined by the president of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Executive Secretary, I should say, Samson Asaki Awengobit. Mr. Awengobit, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation on the AM show.
Pleasure for having me.
Great. To kickstart the conversation, do you make of this suggestion that, well, we import far too much, so let's start cutting off some of them, weaning ourselves off some items, including some of our staples, rice as well, fruit juices, among a plethora of other items. Where, for starters, do you situate that conversation, Mr. Awingobit?
Well, thank you very much. I strongly believe that you heard how the minister was struggling to explain. At one point, we are not banning. At one point, we are just going to regulate the industry and stuff like that. In fact, I was happy the way you pushed the question, or your colleague pushed the question to him about statistics. Look, let me put it without fear or favor that as we speak, we do not have any proper data in the country.
We don't have any proper what?
Yes, data. Because I recall that when GCNet was leaving, government was fighting GCNet to hand over the trade data to them. And GCNet said they will not hand over because the data belongs to them. I'm sure you remember this banter very well. When ICON came, so ICON will have now to build data from scratch. And that is why these benchmark issues came, because they were not running out of capacity. Custom really struggled to be able to put data back again. So we are not trying to gather data. As I speak with you, there is a company that has been given the contract to do data collection. That's what I saw about some weeks ago, you heard that cargo tracker of TCN is coming back. You heard it. But that is to collect data for the state, trade data for the state. As we speak, on authority, I can tell you that we do not have trade data as a country. Put that aside. The minister is saying that he has engaged, he is speaking to Olam and others. But the point is, you said you want to regulate the importations of the cargo. Now, on your LI, you kept we the traders out. We are not in the committee. That is for one. Gutta is not there. Import and Export Association, we are not there. Food and Beverages, we are not there. Traded Advocate Tax, we are not there. We are not.
Is government to consult you on every single policy? These are things that have been discussed ad nauseum in the past.
So you have AGI, they consulted them, right? You have Chamber of Commerce, they consulted them, right? But the people who will bring the goods, they don't matter. Is that what you're saying? That's number two. Number three, if you pick the LI that is presented in Parliament, there's areas that you say that a company should write officially. That's a written application if you are going to look for a quota to import. Is that what it is? You are asking the name of the company, the address of the company, fiscal office location, what. Then you went ahead to say that you should present tax clearance certificate. You should present the names of your directors. You should present the shareholding structure of the company. You should tell them the number of employees that you employ. Are we in the court of competent jurisdiction? Are you now lifting the veil of various companies to know who is behind the company and who is not behind the company? Is any of the import and money laundering investigation? I mean, absolutely. There are some things I put in the LI that if you look at it, did they think through before bringing this thing? You said we are bringing so much product. You want to regulate it. So if Asake has Asake Enterprise, I've written to you that, okay, I am a project food importer. I want to go and bring my product. My application comes to the committee. So all this long time that I'm clearing goods from the port, don't pay tax. Any importer who brings goods to the port, you pay tax. Any importer who brings goods and do not even do tax VAT return, filing. That's why we even introduced an upfront tax of 2.5% at the port, which you are very much aware. You are very much aware about that. The upfront tax at the port currently, which was introduced after the 2023 mid-year budget review. So I don't see reason why I want a quota. Then you are compulsory. I must submit all these things into details. I don't think it is right. It is not. No comparison investigation. You've not lifted any company veil. If you do that, that means you succeeded in lifting the veil of the company. And he's a lawyer. He should know. The other aspect of it is that even if Asake is putting in application, I'm putting in the application for a quota. Then I put in the application. Maybe at the time I put in the application, I am looking for a facility from my bank. By the time the application probably they approve it, maybe my bank hasn't given to me. You have you are an importer. I should be able to tell that don't put in your application because I have already got it. Because every time they give the permit, there will be a expiring period. I have a quota. Maybe imported in my name. I'll clear it for you. So that when my money is ready, go and put in the application and give it to me. Because if I get the application, you are saying I cannot transfer it. If I transfer it, you end up being fined or you end up being prison. How? I've put in the application. Maybe my bank hasn't given me the finance yet. I'm waiting for the finance before. But if I not realize that there will be an expiring period, it's better I give to somebody who have the money now to bring it so that when my money is ready for my bank, and every business person run on trade, on credit facility, or you run with our bank because your bank needs to borrow you or support you to be able to do your business.
Right. Samson, I agree with you to some extent, but the point also is we must wean ourselves at some point of this over-reliance on imports from Asia, Europe, and other parts of the world, especially when it comes to food. Now, per ISA's mid-year budget review analysis for 2023, it talks about the fact that still food items dominate Ghana's monthly import bill. That was in the first half of 2023, and that has been the tale, the script that we've read from. And it also says, hold on, it says, Ghana is very dependent on food imports and highly vulnerable to external shocks. But at the same time, if you look at where we've planned some restrictions, poultry, animal and vegetable oils, margarine, fruit juices, soft drinks, mineral water, noodles, pasta, ceramic tiles, among others, we must also look at the local content, whether we can fill the gap. Where do you sit? When do we start the project? Or do we just say, look, if we start it now, it's going to be catastrophic, so we'll never start. If we never start somewhere, when will we ever get rid of this and do what ISA is proposing we do?
Okay, so I was expecting you to say, okay, you will go back to Minister and ask Minister why electric companies bills under this your LI to regulate import into the country, because the business community are saying that why it's a list of bills, and you have lawyers in your media house there. As a lawyer, my senior brother is there. You can ask him whether it's the only court that can give you the right to do what he's asking to do, or the LI is going to be more powerful than the 1992 Constitution. Put that aside. That's the question you're asking. That clearly tells you that we ourselves have not done, as a government or as the people of Ghana, the government has not put any deliberate policy to increase productivity. If you ask my friends from Asia, they will tell you utility tariff is killing them. They will tell you the cost of borrowing from the bank, as we speak, prime rate is at 30%. As we speak, inflation rate is at 35.2. You go to commercial bank, you are borrowing more than 30%. What is the government doing to prune down borrowing rate, interest rates at the bank? What is the government doing to increase productivity of maize for our poultry producers? What is government doing to put up rice processing plant at the farm gate? Why is it that farmers up north were complaining that they produce seed for government of Ghana to buy, which is the Ministry of Agri, to farmers all over the country? The government didn't buy the seed from them. The seed is still locked up in their warehouse. Maybe if yesterday the government has gone there to buy the seed from the farmers, I don't know. So if you say that you want the policy to help show up productivity, no, we don't have so much hatcheries in the country.
Okay, so how do we how Samson?
Hold on, second. People bring the old chick to F2 airport. If you see the amount that they are paying for fees and charges and everything, why don't you abolish those taxes for them so they bring more poultry, the old chicken, to distribute to the farmers? These are the mechanisms we are asking. When you ask the minister,
so for you, the solution is reduction. Samson, let's have a conversation. Yeah. So for you, the solution is a reduction in taxes rather than scrapping the imports altogether. That's your solution.
But if the minister says you want to regulate sugar importation, where is that? His deputy minister, who promised the whole Ghanaians, I think before their boss left, Honorable Alanko left, promised us 2 years ago or 3 years ago or a year ago that we are going to bring sugar. We will see sugar at Commander. What is his name? Commander Sugar Factory. Till then, have you seen the sugar? Have you seen sugar? You put this in your LI. So it is not we who is pushing it. In principle.
Okay.
When you met Honorable Dokua, the deputy minister, I told her that we will support this policy. But madam, tell her, if the LI comes, if you go to parliament and you get the LI passed, will there be any moratorium? Will we say, okay, maybe let us know if it's rice, we have rice per this metric tons. Every 2 years, the government is going to support the farmer to keep on adding a certain tonnage, so that by the time we get to 3, 4, 5 years, we'll be self-sufficient. It will even have surplus for export. My aspect is exporters and importers association. And the name we mentioned this morning is importers and exporters association you are talking to. So we will be happy. Even after, if you ask me after, what is government doing for after? It can take the opportunity. But look, we chew more than we can buy. We are not saying. Then we told them that before the allies go to parliament, they should call us back. Let us read through the document that they are sending. If we are going to meet them, and they were sending this ally, we would have told them, look, saying that someone has to bring his directors, is to expose his directors, his source of funding. We are not under investigation. We are no corporate. It's criminal. We would have raised this issue there and there. But they hide it. And they take it. So at the end of the day, importer will go to jail, go to prison because they've hide something into it. And I know, look, you know what's laughable? This morning I was speaking to one of the honorable members. I forgot about it. He said he's the vice chair of trade, okay, on one of the networks. The guy has not read the LR that was brought to parliament. You know what he told me? That is because it came at the minority blocking. And so he has not read it. And you are coming on air to defend what?
That's an interesting development if he himself has not even read the LI. But
I can mention you can go for the vice. The vice chair of the trade committee in parliament, which you saw the letter that we have given petition trade committee, that of the parliament, not to address certain things for us. The vice chair, who is the ruling government member of parliament in parliament on trade, is saying trade committee. It's on Kesbet FM this morning with me, saying that he has not even read the issue, the legal issue.
Well, those are some of the situations we all get worried about. But Samson, we're grateful for your time, Samson Asaki Awengobit. Thank you so much for having joined the conversation. He is Executive Secretary for the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. But stay with us. We'll return after the break. We'll be telling you about the GC3B. It's the first global conference on cyber capacity building. It's scheduled for the 29th and the 30th of November right here in Accra. We'll be telling you a bit more about it after the break.